Okay, I've already started these notes a little bit. So to go through what I have, section 1, variables. A few definitions. A variable is a symbol used to represent one or more numbers. An expression may contain numbers, variables, or symbols, such as a plus sign, minus, multiplication, division, and some others, but it can't contain an equal sign. If it does have an equal sign, then you would say it's an equation. Examples of expressions would be things like, could be just the number, -2, 3x, 27 plus z is an expression, 5a minus 2b divided by 10, or 42 divided by 6 plus 8. These are all expressions. Now, the substitution principle says that an expression may be replaced by another expression as long as it has the same value. So, for example, the expression 4 plus 2 can be replaced by the number 6 because those two have the same value. They're the same amount. All right. Now, we need to talk about PEMDAS, to review PEMDAS, because I know you've learned it, but there's a little bit of confusion, especially about the MD and the AS part. So, PEMDAS, the P in PEMDAS stands for grouping symbols. That doesn't have to be parentheses. That could be brackets, absolute value signs, braces, even the division bar and fraction. E stands for exponents. Now, the MD stands for multiplication and division, but just because the M comes before D, it doesn't mean that you have to multiply before you divide. MD go together, and it really means do whichever of these comes first as you work left to right. So if division comes before multiplication left to right, then you have to do that first. The same is true with addition and subtraction. It means do whichever comes first as you work left to right. All right, now simplifying, there's two basic things you're going to do in this section. You're going to simplify expressions, and you're also going to evaluate expressions. So I'm going to put another line, move this up a little bit. Simplifying expressions. It's a review for most of you, but they can be tricky at times. All right, I'm going to put an EX. This stands for example. So example 1. We'll do, this one was from earlier in the notes. Now, looking at PEMDAS, I have to do my parenthesis first, my grouping symbols. So whatever is in here has to be done first. So 42 divided by 6 is 7, so I've taken care of that. There's no exponents. Multiplication, division, I don't have to worry about that at this point. And really all I have is addition left, so I can just be finished right there. All right, that one's pretty easy. Example 2, 4 minus 2, 6 minus 3. PEMDAS. So, parenthesis first, we have to start with this. When people see this, sometimes it's tempting because you read left to right, you see the 4 minus 2. You want to start by putting a 2 there and calling this 2, but you can't do the 4 minus 2 first. You have to do the parenthesis first. So that goes to a 3, and then I'm rewriting what I have left. So parentheses finished. This is a parenthesis, but it's not a grouping symbol anymore because there's no operation to be done inside. It's really just, this stands for multiplication now, this parenthesis. There's no exponents. I have to do multiplication or division, whichever comes first, left or right. I have to do this before addition and subtraction. So as I look left to right, I'm going to come across this multiplication piece here. So this becomes a 6. I'm finished with multiplication division. Then I have 4 minus 6 left over for my subtraction. Keep, change, change. 4 plus negative 6 is a negative 2. And I might be able to, I'm going to turn the paper over. All right. Example 3. Make sure I'm still on my paper here. (24) divided by 6 minus 2 times 2. All right. So it's a good idea to write this down as a reminder. Parentheses first, or grouping symbol. We really have 2 grouping symbols. We have this inner parenthesis and this outer bracket. So you always do the inner one before the outer one. So I have to do the 2 times 2 and call this 4. Rewrite. And I'm still on the grouping symbol because I have another one to do. I can't do 24 divided by 6. I have to do this first. So that's a 2. 24 divided by 2. So I've taken care of this. There's no exponent. Now I have to do multiplication or division, whichever comes first. Right, left to right. Well, it's only division. So that leaves me with 12. All right, that one's pretty straightforward. Last or second to last, let's see. Example 4. 6 divided by 2, 1 plus 2. Now, if you do this, it'd be interesting for you to try it without watching, because you're either going to come up with the answer of 1 or 9. One of them is correct. Only one of them is correct according to PEMDAS. So you can't do the 6 divided by 2 first, even though that's the first thing you see and it stands out. You can't call this 3. You have to do the grouping symbol first. So this becomes a 3. Rewrite. And now I'm finished with grouping symbols because this parenthesis, there's no calculation in here. This parenthesis just represents multiplication. There's no exponent. So I have to do the multiplication or division. This becomes a 6. Actually, no. You have to do, my mistake, you have to do multiplication or division, whichever comes first, left to right. So that's where this is tricky. If I look left to right, division actually comes first. So you do want to do this first, even though division comes after, the D comes after the M. This has to come first. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Then you have times 3. Now we can do the multiplication. So the original way I said it was incorrect. If we would have done the 2 times 3 first, which is incorrect, you would have 6 divided by 6, which is 1, and that's incorrect. You have to do the division before the multiplication because it comes first left to right. All right. Now, all right, took a little break there for a minute. So in addition to simplifying expressions, this section covers evaluating expressions. And evaluating expressions just means you're going to plug in a number into a variable, and then you're going to find the value of the expression. So it just means finding the value of an expression. So example 1. The directions would say evaluate, and then it's going to give you the expression C divided by A plus B, and then it has to give you the values for the variables. If A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3. So what you want to do first is, it's a really good idea to put parentheses around the variables when you plug in. This one's pretty simple, so I'm not going to do that, but when the expressions get a little more complicated, you should use a parenthesis. But C 3 divided by, parenthesis, A is 1, B is 2. And then we're back to simplifying expressions. So if I use PEMDAS, I have to do the parenthesis first. 3, rewrite. And 3 divided by 3 equals 1. So I want you to show these steps like this. Show the intermediate steps as you work down and follow order of operations. Example 2. X minus 3 plus y. If x equals 12 and y equals 9. All right. So x is 12, 5 times 12. This dot is not a decimal, it means multiplication. Minus 3 plus y is 9. And then we have to do the parentheses first. 5 times 12 is 60. I'm going to do this parenthesis at the same time. 12. And now we just have a subtraction problem. So 60 minus 12 gives us 48. And that's the answer. So evaluating just means plug in numbers into the variables and then simplify the expression. That's the end.